Promotion? Don't fool yourself, Tay. You'll never be more than a pathetic woman in my shadow. Drink up, Sheev. It's the last toast you'll ever make.
Those were the hostile words her husband whispered as he slipped something into her glass at her own promotion party. Applause echoed around her, but all she could hear was the sound of betrayal. Her hand trembled, her heart broke. The man who should have been her greatest cheerleader had become the architect of her downfall. The champagne in her hand no longer sparkled with celebration. It stung like poison, a cruel reminder that her trust had been shattered beyond repair. But betrayal doesn't always win. With one quiet choice, she shifted the course of the night, and what followed would leave the room in utter shock. This is the story of a woman mocked at her moment of triumph, betrayed at the peak of her joy, and the twist that turned his cruelty into her crown. And today, it is being retold by me. Hello family, welcome back. Before we begin, I have a small but heartfelt request. Please subscribe. Your support is what keeps these stories alive. Every time you click that button, you're helping us share voices that would otherwise be forgotten and stories that deserve to be heard. And in the comments, tell us where you're watching from, because together we are not just telling stories, we are keeping hope alive. The clock ticked past midnight in the Bennett household. The apartment should have been quiet, a place of rest after long hours of work. But peace rarely lived there anymore. Claire Bennett stood at the kitchen counter, carefully packing her work bag for the next morning. Her mind was still buzzing with the email her boss had sent earlier, praising her leadership on the marketing campaign. It wasn't official yet, but everyone whispered the same thing. Claire was getting the promotion. She allowed herself a small smile, just a little glow of pride. But that glow faded the moment Daniel's voice cut through the silence. "So, what's got you grinning like a fool?" Claire turned. Her husband leaned against the doorway, glass of whiskey in his hand. His tie was loosened, his shirt half unbuttoned, but his eyes were sharp, watching her like a hawk. "Just a long day," she said softly, keeping her tone neutral. Daniel smirked. "Don't lie. You think I don't hear the rumors? The big promotion? The boss's golden girl?" He stepped closer, swirling his drink. "Tell me, Claire, what exactly makes you so special?" Because I don't see it." She lowered her gaze, pretending to adjust the strap on her bag. I've been working hard." "Working hard," he repeated, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Don't kid yourself. You're lucky they even let you sit at that table. You're nothing without me." Nothing. His words hit her like stones. But Claire had learned long ago that arguing only made it worse. Daniel walked around her slowly, like a predator circling prey. "Do you know what people say when they see us together? They wonder how a man like me ended up with someone like you." He let the words hang heavy. "You think anyone at that company actually respects you? They're laughing at you, Claire, using you until they get bored." Her chest tightened. She forced a steady breath. "Daniel, that's not fair." "Fair?" He laughed bitterly, cutting her off. "What's not fair is me coming home to a wife who thinks she's better than me, who thinks her silly little paycheck means she's important. Newsflash, sweetheart. You'll always be that small-town girl who should have been grateful to marry into my family's name." Claire's eyes burned, but she kept her tears hidden. Daniel finished his drink in one swallow and slammed the glass on the counter. The sound made her flinch. He leaned in close, his breath hot against her ear. "Don't ever think you're above me, Claire. Because without me, you're nothing but a pathetic little secretary who got lucky." She nodded quickly, biting her lip to stop it from trembling. He pulled away with a satisfied smirk, as if he had won some invisible battle. When Daniel finally left the kitchen, Claire stood frozen, her hands gripping the counter until her knuckles turned white. Her chest rose and fell with silent sobs she dared not release. Tomorrow, everyone at work would celebrate her success. But here, in the place that was supposed to be her home, she felt like a fraud, stripped of joy before it could even bloom. The next evening, Claire stood in front of the mirror, smoothing down her navy blue dress. It was simple, but elegant, professional, the kind of dress that told the world she belonged in that boardroom. Tonight was supposed to be hers. Her promotion had been announced that morning, and her colleagues insisted on throwing a celebration. She should have been excited. She should have been glowing. Instead, she kept replaying Daniel's voice in her head. "You're nothing without me. You'll always be that small-town girl." She swallowed the lump in her throat and dabbed concealer under her eyes. From behind her, Daniel's voice came again, sharp and cold. "So that's what you're wearing?" "Figures. You finally get your little trophy job, and you show up looking like a school teacher." Claire turned slowly. He was sprawled across the bed, tie loose, scrolling through his phone. He didn't even look at her when he spoke. "I think it looks professional," she said carefully. Daniel snorted. "Professional?" "No, sweetheart. Professional is what men look like in tailored suits. You just look like you're trying too hard, like a little girl playing dress-up." Her shoulders dropped. "Daniel, can't we just be happy tonight? Please. This means a lot to me." That made him finally glance up. His smile was cruel. "Happy? For you?" He set his phone down and sat up, his eyes narrowing. "Why would I be happy watching my wife parade around acting like she's more important than me?" "Because we're supposed to be a team," she whispered. He stood and crossed the room, stopping so close she could smell the whiskey on his breath. "A team?" His laugh was low and mocking. "No, Claire. Let's get this straight. I'm the man. I'm the one with the name, the family, the respect. You're just riding my coattails. Don't you forget that." Her lips trembled, but she pressed them shut. Daniel tapped her cheek lightly, as if mocking affection. "But go on. Enjoy your little night. Smile for your friends. Just don't forget who you belong to when it's over." The banquet hall glittered with lights and music. Colleagues clapped her on the back, glasses clinked, and for a brief moment, Claire felt like maybe, just maybe, she was finally being seen. But Daniel never left her side. His arm draped around her waist looked protective to the crowd, but his grip dug hard into her skin. "Look at you," he whispered in her ear as people cheered. "So desperate to be the center of attention. Do you actually believe they respect you?" "They're laughing at you, Claire. Every single one of them." "Daniel, stop," she murmured, trying to keep her smile in place for the cameras. He only tightened his hold. "I'll stop when you learn your place." Then he pulled away, raising his glass with a charming grin for the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, to my wife, the star of the evening. Let's raise a glass to Claire." Everyone cheered. Claire forced her lips into a smile, though her hand trembled around the stem of her glass. As the applause filled the hall, Daniel leaned close again. His smile stayed wide, his words slicing like knives. "Promotion? Don't fool yourself. You'll never be more than a pathetic woman in my shadow. Drink up. It's the last toast you'll ever make." Claire's breath caught. Her eyes flicked to her glass just in time to see his fingers slip something into it, quick and practiced. A fine powder dissolved into the golden champagne. Her heart pounded. The room spun, not from drink, but from the weight of realization. "He wants me gone." She steadied her hand, keeping her face calm. Nobody else noticed. Nobody but her. And then, when Daniel's head turned for just a second, she switched their glasses, smooth, silent. The host's voice boomed, "To Claire Bennett, our new Vice President of Marketing." Everyone lifted their glasses. Daniel lifted his too. He smirked at her, certain he had won. But when the crystal touched his lips, it wasn't her glass he held, it was his own. He drank deeply. Seconds later, his smile faltered. His hand shook. The glass slipped from his fingers, shattering on the floor. Gasps filled the hall, chairs scraped back. People rushed forward as Daniel collapsed, clutching his throat. Claire stood frozen, her glass untouched. Every eye turned toward her. Applause had died into horrified silence. The whispers began, and in that single moment, Claire knew. Her triumph had just become her trial. If you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love for you to join our community by hitting the subscribe button. Through our stories, we build hope and give a future to children and women who have been abused all over the world. Motivate us by subscribing and turning on your notification bell so you never miss a story that matters. Also, let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from, and how did this story speak to you? The hospital smelled like bleach and old coffee. Claire sat on the hard chair outside Daniel's room, her fingers pressed so hard together, her nails left crescent moons in her palms. She had slept less than an hour since the party. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Daniel's face go slack, the way his hand had fallen, the champagne glass breaking on the floor. Her phone buzzed with messages that read like knives. Are you okay? What happened? Turned quickly into, did she do it? And how convenient. Her promotion, and then this. Claire? The voice was cold, clinical. Evelyn Bennett stepped into the corridor like she owned every tile. She wore a black coat and a look that had no room for softness. Her heels clicked a small, steady warning. Claire stood up before she could think. Evelyn, Evelyn didn't let her finish. She moved inside the small waiting area, eyes scanning the room like a judge. You must be exhausted from acting so well, she said. Her voice was low, dangerous. I'm not, Claire tried to explain. I wasn't even drinking. I saw him. Spare me. Evelyn cut her off with a thin-lipped smile. You're always so dramatic, aren't you? Playing the victim like this makes you look even worse. Claire's mouth went dry. Please, he could have died. Evelyn stepped forward until Claire felt the heat of her body. If anything happens to my son, she hissed, I will make sure you pay. Her hand flashed. It landed across Claire's face with a sharp slap that echoed in the quiet corridor. It wasn't loud, but it was full of meaning. Claire tasted metal. Her cheek stung. For a second, she couldn't breathe. You, Claire said, stunned, reaching to touch her skin as if the pain alone might prove the slap had happened. Evelyn's jaw tightened. Everyone knows what you wanted. You wanted his name, his status. You wanted this. You ruined him. The nurse coming out of the room looked away, embarrassed. Evelyn turned, lifted her chin, and walked as if nothing had happened. Claire stood there, trembling, the sting of the slap matched only by a new hollow in her chest. This was not only a husband's betrayal now, it had become a family verdict. Her phone buzzed again. It was Emily. Claire! Emily's voice was raw with worry. Are you there? I just saw, on the news. Is he okay? What happened? He's stable, Claire managed. Daniel, he collapsed. I don't know. Please tell me you didn't do anything. Emily's words were quick, nervous. Please tell me you didn't do anything. Claire felt the heat rise like a storm. Emily, I would never... But people are talking, Emily said. They said you didn't drink. They said you looked calm. Claire, you have to understand how this looks. How this looks, Claire repeated, bewildered. Emily, you're my sister. I know, Emily cut in, voice trembling. I want to believe you. She hesitated so long Claire could hear the gears in her head turning. I can't. Not now. Mom called. She saw the headlines. They're asking questions. I don't want to get involved if there's even a chance. Emily. Claire's plea was small and raw. Please, I need you. The line clicked. The The call ended. Claire stared at the dead screen, once again alone in a crowded place. Evelyn's slap was still burning on her cheek, and Emily's silence felt sharper than the slap had been. She wrapped her arms around herself and sat down, the fluorescent lights making everything feel unreal. That night, Claire went home to a quiet apartment with the TV flickering in the background. The cushions still smelled faintly of cologne. The house was too intact to feel safe. She moved through rooms like a ghost, touched nothing, let the cold of the place seep into her bones. She couldn't sit, though. Loneliness had a way of pushing her forward into action. She needed answers. She needed proof. She needed something solid that would stop the bird-like chatter of rumors from tearing her apart. Daniel's laptop sat on his desk, where he'd left it that night, always locked, always private. Her hand hovered over the keyboard. This felt like theft, but at this moment, it felt like survival. She typed in his password, the numbers of his birthday, something he'd always shrugged about being careless with. The screen opened to a map of things he kept away from her. Hidden folders, a separate email account with a woman listed as VV. A thread of messages that made her chest hollow. After tonight, she'll be out of the way. Then we can start fresh. Just the two of us. I'll handle it. Claire's fingers slipped on the mouse. Her breath hitched. Those were his words, typed out ugly and confident. There were bank transfers logged at odd hours, receipts for places she'd never heard of, notes marked arrange and done. She clicked through more and more. One message was short and brutal. He'll think it was her. Nobody will suspect us. Make sure it's clean. Claire's vision blurred. She felt something inside her break and, with the break, a stir of something else, hot and steady, outrage. She traced another thread and found a name, Vanessa. Photos, dates, tickets. A lifetime of small lies made big on a screen. There were plans and photos and a clear, filthy greed. Daniel had been lying for years. The cruelty she thought abrupt had been carefully constructed. She sank to the floor with the laptop on her knees. Her cheek throbbed where Evelyn's hand had struck her. She pressed a palm to it and felt the warmth, the humiliation, the rage. She imagined Daniel's face twisting as he typed those messages, his casual cruelty like a hand at her throat for years, without conceding. A knock at the door startled her. She closed the laptop and smoothed her face with shaking hands. At the peephole, a neighbor's shadow lingered. Mrs. Powell from 4B, whose husband used to bring cookies when they first moved in. Claire, Mrs. Powell's voice was small. I saw her on the TV. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Claire opened the door and let her in. For a minute, she almost cried with relief. Someone ordinary, someone real. Mrs. Powell sat and put a cup of tea in Claire's hands. People talk, she said gently, but I know you. You're not like that. Claire clung to that, a small island in a storm. Thank you, she swallowed. I have to find proof. I have to fix this. Mrs. Powell nodded. You're strong, dear. People will see the truth. Just be careful. Claire nodded, but she wasn't sure who this was anymore, who she would be when the dust settled. Alone, slapped, and abandoned by the one person she had hoped wouldn't leave her side, she felt the world narrow to the glow of the laptop screen and the need to find the truth before everyone believed the lie. 2 days later, Claire walked back into the hospital, clutching a coffee she didn't want. Her stomach churned. She had spent the night staring at Daniel's laptop, the messages, the hidden accounts. Proof was there. But what good was proof when no one believed her? She opened the door to Daniel's room slowly. Machines beeped softly. Tubes ran across his arms. His eyes opened at the sound. For a moment, there was silence between them. Then his lips curled into a weak smile. Still here? His voice was hoarse. Guess you didn't finish the job. Claire's chest squeezed. Daniel, why are you doing this? You know I'd never hurt you. Save it, he rasped. The police will want a statement. I'll tell them everything. That you hated me, that you were jealous, that you snapped. Who do you think they'll believe? The successful husband from a good family, or the bitter wife who wanted too much? Her knees felt weak. She gripped the end of the bed. Daniel, I know about Vanessa. I know about the accounts. I saw everything. You were planning this. He laughed, a dry, ugly sound. And who will believe you, Claire? Who? You're finished. I made sure of it. Before she could answer, the door swung open. Evelyn walked in, her heels sharp on the tile. Her eyes flicked from her son to Claire, narrowing instantly. What are you doing here? She demanded. I'm his wife, Claire whispered. Not for long. Evelyn came closer, her hand heavy on Claire's arm. She leaned down, her words like venom. He already told the police you tried to poison him. They'll be coming to talk to you next. That's not true. Lies fall out of your mouth like water. Evelyn's grip tightened until Claire winced. You've shamed this family for the last time. If my son dies, I'll bury you myself. The words rang in Claire's ears. She wanted to scream, to fight, to tell the truth. But the nurse came in just then, and Evelyn stepped back, her face rearranged into a mask of worried motherhood. Claire stumbled out of the room, her chest tight, her vision blurry. In the hallway, she pressed her back to the wall, fighting for breath. Her husband had betrayed her. His mother had slapped her, threatened her. Her sister had abandoned her. And now the world was ready to believe she was a monster. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. For a moment she wanted to sink, to let the weight crush her. But the memory of Daniel's messages burned in her mind. He thought she was broken. He thought no one would believe her. Claire straightened slowly, whispering to herself, Then I'll make them believe me. The beeping of machines echoed behind the door. Evelyn's threats rang in her ears, and in the pit of her chest, the first spark of fury lit. The days after Daniel's collapse blurred together into something Claire could only describe as hell. Her life, once steady and orderly, felt like it had been thrown into a storm she couldn't escape. Everywhere she turned, suspicion followed her like a shadow. Her first blow came at work. She walked into the office early, shoulders stiff, ready to bury herself in projects. She thought if she kept moving, if she stayed visible, people would know she wasn't hiding anything. But the moment she entered, conversations died. Papers shuffled loudly, chairs scraped. Her co-workers, people she had mentored, laughed with, eaten lunch beside, avoided her eyes. Her boss, Mr. Graham, called her into his office. The blinds were half closed, his face serious. He gestured for her to sit. Claire, he began, his tone heavy. You know I respect your work. You've done more for this department than anyone in the last 5 years. But there's been talk about what happened at the party, about Daniel. Claire's throat tightened. Talk? You know how it looks, he said gently. Daniel collapsed right after your toast. People noticed you didn't drink. The police are investigating. Until this is resolved. He sighed, folding his hands together. I'm afraid we have to place you on suspension. Effective immediately, her stomach dropped. Suspension. Mr. Graham, It's not permanent, he interrupted. But for the sake of the company's image, I can't have you in the office right now. Claire sat frozen, humiliation washing over her. I worked for this. I gave everything. And you're suspending me based on gossip? Based on perception, he corrected. Perception matters, Claire. I'm sorry she left the building with her box of belongings, each step heavier than the last. The stares of her colleagues burned into her back. Outside, The sun was bright, but she felt swallowed in darkness. The second blow came from family. That evening, Claire called Emily again. Her sister answered after the third ring, her voice hesitant. "Claire, maybe you shouldn't call me right now." Claire's heart sank. "Emily, please. You're all I have left. Everyone thinks I tried to kill Daniel. You know me. You know I wouldn't. I don't know anything anymore," Emily whispered. "The news, the neighbors, they're saying the police are building a case against you. Do you know what Mom said? She said she doesn't even want to be seen with you until this is over." Claire's chest tightened. "So you believe them? You believe him?" "I don't want to, but Claire, you weren't drinking that night. Everyone saw. How do I defend you when the story makes sense?" Claire's breath shook. "Emily, I need you." There was silence, and then Emily's voice broke. "I can't. I'm sorry." The line went dead. Claire dropped her phone, pressing her hands to her face. Her own sister, her only family left, had abandoned her. The world had closed its doors. The third blow came from Daniel himself. When she went to the hospital to see him, no one stopped her. Nurses avoided her eyes. Evelyn sat in the corner with a smug smile, knitting as if nothing in the world could disturb her. Daniel looked up from his bed, his face pale, but his grin sharp. "Well, well." "The poisoner returns." Claire's hands shook. "Stop it, Daniel." "You know I didn't do this." He laughed, a dry sound that made her skin crawl. "Didn't you? The police will think you did. The world already does. Look at you. Pathetic. Suspended from work, abandoned by your sister, shunned by neighbors, and all it took was one night." "Why?" Claire whispered. "Why are you doing this to me?" He leaned forward slightly, his voice low. "Because I can. And because they'll believe me over you." "Always." Evelyn chuckled from her chair, her needles clicking. "He's right, you know. Who would believe you over him? A man with his name, his family, his reputation, and you, just a small-town girl who married up." Claire's vision blurred with tears. She turned and fled before her knees gave out beneath her. But the worst came days later. Claire was coming home, clutching groceries she had barely been able to pay for after being suspended, when a sleek black car pulled up in front of her building. A woman stepped out, tall, young, with sharp features and hair that glowed under the streetlight. She wore confidence like perfume. "Claire Bennett?" the woman said with a smirk. Claire's stomach twisted. "Who are you?" "Vanessa." The name hit like a slap. Daniel's mistress. She tilted her head, eyes glinting. "I just thought you should know. Daniel never loved you. You were only ever practice." He told me so. Claire's hands clenched around the grocery bag until the paper tore. "Why are you here?" "Because I want you to understand you've already lost. He chose me. He's going to leave you. He already promised." Vanessa's hand smoothed over her stomach with deliberate slowness. "Oh, and I'm pregnant. So even if you tried to hold on to him, it wouldn't matter. He belongs to me now."
One night she sat at Daniel's desk again. The laptop hummed softly like it was waiting. Her hands moved without thought, opening his files, his emails. She dug deeper, desperate, determined, and then she found it. A folder marked private. Inside, hidden among junk files, was an audio recording. Her pulse quickened as she clicked it. Daniel's voice filled the room. Clear, arrogant. "She won't see it coming. I'll slip it into her glass, make her look like the jealous wife who snapped. The police will eat it up. By the time they finish with her, Vanessa and I will be long gone." Claire froze. Her blood roared in her ears. He had said it. Out loud. Proof. Her hands trembled as she pressed replay, again and again, hearing his voice boast about drugging her at the promotion party, hearing him laugh about destroying her. She clutched the phone she had used to save the file. her whole body shaking. But this time, it wasn't from fear. It was from resolve. She lifted her head slowly, eyes burning, her voice a whisper in the empty apartment. Daniel, this is the end of your game. And for the first time since the nightmare began, she felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. The invitation arrived in a white envelope, thick paper with elegant cursive. Evelyn Bennett's handwriting was unmistakable. Family dinner, Sunday, 7 p.m. Attendance expected. Claire stared at the paper for a long time. She knew what it meant. Evelyn wasn't inviting her to dinner. She was staging a trial. Her hands tightened around the envelope. She thought of the whispers at work, the neighbor's stares, her sister's silence. She thought of Daniel's mocking words in the hospital bed. She thought of Vanessa's cruel smirk and the way Evelyn's slap had stung her cheek. And then she thought of the recording. Daniel's voice, arrogant and unfiltered, still echoed in her mind. I'll slip it into her glass, make her look like the jealous wife. The police will eat it up. By the time they finish with her, Vanessa and I will be long gone. Claire slipped the envelope into her bag. Evelyn thought she was walking into her own public execution. But Evelyn had no idea. Claire had already loaded the bullets. The night of the gathering, Claire dressed carefully. Not flashy, not meek. She wore a fitted black dress with simple pearl earrings. Her hair was pinned back, her makeup minimal. She wanted them to see her face clearly when the truth came out. As she arrived at the Bennett estate, she felt the weight of every eye. The house gleamed with chandeliers and polished floors, but the warmth was an illusion. Evelyn had gathered them like a jury. Relatives, close friends, even a few of Daniel's business partners. Daniel sat in the center of it all, propped up in a wheelchair, a blanket over his legs. His smile was faint but triumphant, as if he already knew how the night would end. Evelyn hovered beside him like a guard dog, lips curved in a smug grin. Claire, Evelyn said sweetly, though her eyes were daggers, so good of you to come. We thought it was important to clear the air. Murmurs rippled through the room. Claire felt the judgment pressing in on her. She kept her head high. Daniel spoke, his voice weak but deliberate. I just want everyone here to know the truth. About what Claire did to me. About the poison. About the ambition that blinded her. The room went silent, all eyes shifting to her. Claire's pulse raced, but her voice was steady. You want the truth? She said quietly. Then let's give them the truth. She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She tapped once, and Daniel's own voice filled the grand room, projected loud and undeniable. She won't see it coming. I'll slip it into her glass, make her look like the jealous wife who snapped. The police will eat it up. By the time they finish with her, Vanessa and I will be long gone. Gasps erupted. Chairs shifted. Evelyn froze, her hand tightening on the back of Daniel's wheelchair. Claire stood tall, letting the words play again and again, echoing against the crystal chandeliers. Daniel's face drained of color. That's fake. She edited it. But the room wasn't listening. They had heard his tone, cocky, careless, guilty. Vanessa, who had been standing near the back in a red dress, suddenly stepped forward, her eyes blazing. Enough, Daniel. Don't you dare. He turned furious. Shut up, Vanessa. No, she shouted, her voice breaking. I'm done protecting you. You promised me everything. You told me we'd leave together. You said she'd be out of the way. And now you sit here pretending? The room erupted in whispers. Claire stared at her, heart hammering. Vanessa's face was twisted with anger. Not at Claire, but at Daniel. You didn't tell them about the debts, did you? Vanessa sneered. All the money you wasted gambling, the loans in my name, the lies. You promised me you'd pay it back once she was gone. That's why you did this. Not for me. Not for us. For yourself, Daniel's voice cracked. Stop it, Vanessa. Vanessa turned to the stunned guests. He's been lying to everyone. To me, to you, to her. He doesn't care about family or marriage or loyalty. All he cares about is his pride. She looked directly at Claire. And yes, I was foolish enough to believe him. But he told me everything. He wanted you destroyed. The room was chaos now. Murmurs, gasps, heads shaking in disbelief. Evelyn's face had gone pale, her perfect composure crumbling. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Tell me this isn't true." But Daniel said nothing. His jaw clenched, his eyes darting between his mother, his mistress, and his wife. The walls of lies he had built were collapsing faster than he could repair them. Claire stepped forward, her voice steady and clear. "All this time you told me I was nothing. You mocked me, humiliated me, betrayed me. You thought your lies would bury me." Her eyes locked on his. "But tonight, your lies buried you." Evelyn finally broke. Her hands trembled on the wheelchair. She looked at her son as if seeing him for the first time. You did this? You tried to destroy her? After everything we gave you?" Daniel tried to reach for her hand, but she pulled back sharply. The rejection in her eyes was final. Claire didn't gloat. She didn't smile. She only pressed play one last time, letting Daniel's confession echo through the room until the weight of it crushed every excuse he could make. The door opened and 2 police officers stepped inside. "Daniel Bennett," one said firmly, "you're under arrest for attempted poisoning, fraud, and conspiracy." The room fell into stunned silence. Daniel shouted, struggling in his chair, but it was useless. The officers cuffed him, wheeling him out as he spat curses at Claire, at Vanessa, even at his own mother. Evelyn sat down heavily, her face gray with shock. She didn't look at Claire. She didn't say a word. When the guests finally left, when the whispers faded, Claire stood alone in the center of the glittering room. The chandeliers still sparkled, but the air felt lighter now, as if the house itself had expelled a poison it had harbored for too long. Vanessa lingered at the edge of the room. Her mascara had smudged, her confidence drained. She looked at Claire with something close to apology. "I didn't come here to help you," she admitted quietly. "I came here to protect myself. But I guess you deserve the truth more than I did." Claire's voice was soft but firm. "Truth doesn't care about motives." "It always comes out," Vanessa nodded once, then left without another word. Evelyn sat silently in her chair, staring into nothing. For the first time since Claire had met her, she looked powerless, broken. Claire didn't wait for her to speak. She simply walked past her, head high. For years she had begged for Evelyn's respect, for Daniel's love, for her sister's trust. But tonight had taught her something far more valuable. She didn't need any of it to stand tall. Weeks later, Claire returned to her office. This time no one whispered when she entered. Colleagues approached her with quiet apologies, awkward smiles, gestures of support. She accepted them with grace but not dependence. Mr. Graham met her at her office door. "Claire, I owe you an apology. We should have trusted you." Claire offered a small smile. "Trust isn't given. It's proven." I think we all learned that she sat at her desk, the promotion plaque still waiting where she had left it. For the first time, it didn't feel like a fragile victory. It felt earned, solid, unshakable. That evening, as she stood in front of her mirror, she whispered the words she hadn't been able to say at the party. "Daniel, you wanted to poison my crown. But tonight, your poison became my crown." Her reflection stared back at her, not broken, not afraid, strong, whole. And with that, she turned off the light, leaving the past behind her. Envy consumes the envious long before it touches the innocent. A cruel heart can disguise itself as love, but truth unmasks betrayal in time. What is built on lies always collapses under the weight of truth.
The grocery bags were cutting into Naomi's fingers, but she didn't move. She couldn't. She stood frozen in the hallway of her own home, listening to her husband's laughter drift from the bedroom. It wasn't the kind of laugh she heard anymore when they were together. This was different. Light, happy, free. "I'm telling you, Candace, these 3 weeks can't come fast enough," Trevor said, his voice carrying that excited tone he used to have with her. "I need a break from everything here." Naomi's heart started pounding. She should have walked away. She should have made noise, announced herself, done something. But her feet stayed planted on the hardwood floor her grandmother's inheritance had paid for. "You don't understand," Trevor continued, and then he laughed again. That same carefree sound that made her stomach turn. "Her presence irritates me now. Everything she does. The way she hums in the kitchen. The way she tries to touch my shoulder when she walks by. God, I just wish she would disappear forever. Just vanish. Then I could actually breathe. The bag slipped from Naomi's hands. Apples rolled across the floor. A jar of pasta sauce shattered, red spreading across the white tiles like blood from a wound. But she barely heard it. Her ears were ringing, drowning out everything except those words playing on repeat in her mind. Her presence irritates me. I wish she would disappear forever. 10 years. They had been married for 10 years. She had supported him through graduate school. She had worked double shifts when his startup failed. She had smiled through his mother's criticisms and his friends' inappropriate jokes. She had painted this house, planted the garden, made this place a home. And he wished she would disappear. Babe? Trevor appeared in the doorway, phone pressed to his chest. His face showed surprise then annoyance. I didn't hear you come in. Look at this mess. Naomi looked at him. Really looked at him. At 34, Trevor was average in every way. Average height, average build, average brown hair that was starting to thin. She had thought his ordinariness made him safe, stable. She had been so wrong. I dropped the groceries, she said. Her voice sounded strange. Hollow. Like it was coming from someone else's body. Well, clean it up. I'm on an important call. He turned back to the bedroom and she heard him laugh again. Sorry about that. Where were we? Naomi bent down and started picking up the pieces of broken glass. The sauce had splattered everywhere, staining her favorite dress. She had worn it because Trevor once said he liked it. She couldn't remember the last time he had actually noticed what she wore. Her hands moved automatically, cleaning the mess while her mind raced. Disappear. He wanted her to disappear. Fine. She would disappear. But not the way he thought. Not the way he hoped. She carried the trash to the bin outside, then walked back through the house. Each room held memories that now felt like lies. The living room where they had danced on their wedding night. The kitchen where she had cooked his favorite meals every Sunday. The bedroom where they had stopped touching each other months ago, though she had pretended not to notice. Trevor was still on the phone when she passed the bedroom again. She didn't stop. She went straight to the guest bathroom and locked the door. Only then did she let herself feel it. The betrayal. The humiliation. The rage. But she didn't cry. Crying was for people who had time to fall apart. Naomi didn't have that luxury. She had 3 weeks. 3 weeks while Trevor went on his solo vacation. That was clearly anything but solo. 3 weeks to make herself disappear in a way that would haunt him forever. She pulled out her phone and started making a list. Her hands were steady now. Focused. She had always been good at planning, at organizing, at making things happen. Trevor had called it boring. He had rolled his eyes at her calendars and spreadsheets and careful budgets. He never understood that her planning was what kept their life running smoothly. Now her planning would be what destroyed him. The first call was to her lawyer. Beverly answered on the second ring. Naomi? It's been ages. How are you? I need to file for divorce, Naomi said. And I need to know my rights regarding the house. There was a pause. Then Beverly's voice came back, professional and alert. Come to my office tomorrow morning. 9 sharp. Bring every financial document you have. The second call was to her best friend Rochelle, who listened in silence as Naomi explained everything. When she finished, Rochelle said simply, I'm coming over. No, Naomi said. I need to do this alone. But I'll need your help later. Can you be ready? Always. The third call was to a real estate agent her cousin had recommended. I need to sell a house quickly. Very quickly. I'm willing to take a reasonable offer for a fast close. By the time Naomi emerged from the bathroom, she had made 7 calls and had 4 appointments scheduled for the next day. Trevor was in the living room, finally off the phone, watching television and eating the leftover pizza from 2 nights ago. There you are, he said without looking up. What took so long? Just dealing with some things, Naomi said. She sat down in the chair across from him, not on the couch beside him like she usually did. When did you say your trip was? Week after next. 3 weeks in the Caribbean. I told you about it. He hadn't. Not really. He had mentioned a work retreat, then a solo vacation to clear his head. The details had always been vague, and she had been too tired from working to press him for more information. Right, she said. I remember now. Trevor glanced at her then, and for just a second, something like guilt flickered across his face. But it was gone so quickly she might have imagined it. You okay? You seem quiet. Just tired, Naomi said. Long day. You work too much, he said, turning back to the television. You should relax more. Naomi almost laughed. She worked too much because someone had to pay the bills. Someone had to keep the house running while he chased his dreams and his affairs. But she didn't say any of that. She just nodded. "You're right," she said. "I should relax more. In fact, I think I'll take some time off soon. Really focus on myself." "Good idea," Trevor said. He wasn't listening. He was texting someone, his phone tilted away from her view. Candace probably. Planning their romantic getaway on Naomi's dime. Naomi stood up and walked to the bedroom. She looked around at the space they had shared for so long. Tomorrow it would start. Tomorrow she would begin the process of disappearing. But tonight, she would let herself remember the woman she had been when she walked into this marriage. Young, hopeful, trusting. That woman was gone. In her place was someone stronger. Someone who knew her worth. Someone who would never again let a man make her feel like she was too much or not enough or anything other than exactly who she was meant to be. Trevor wanted her to disappear. And she would. But when she vanished, she would take everything with her. Everything that mattered. Everything he thought was his. And he would be left with nothing but the echo of his own cruel words and the empty space where a good woman used to be. Morning came too soon and too slow at the same time. Naomi woke at 5 like always. She went through her usual routine. Shower. Coffee. Toast. She packed Trevor's lunch, even though her hands shook with rage as she did it. She had to maintain the performance. Any change in behavior might make him suspicious. Trevor stumbled into the kitchen at 7, hair messy, eyes half closed. "You're up early," he mumbled. "Same time as always," Naomi said, handing him his coffee. Black, 2 sugars. She had made it the same way for 10 years. He took it without thanking her and scrolled through his phone while he drank. Naomi watched him and wondered when she had become invisible. When had she transformed from a wife into a ghost haunting her own home? "I have some meetings today," she said casually. "Might be home late." Trevor grunted. He was reading something on his phone that made him smile. Naomi imagined it was a message from Candace. She imagined them laughing together about the boring wife who had no idea what was happening. Let them laugh. They wouldn't be laughing for long. At exactly 9 o'clock, Naomi sat across from Beverly in a downtown office that smelled like leather and expensive coffee. Beverly was 50, sharp as a knife, and famous for never losing a divorce case. "Tell me everything," Beverly said. Naomi did. She explained about the phone call, about Trevor's upcoming trip, about the years of feeling less than. Beverly listened, taking notes, her face unreadable. When Naomi finished, Beverly leaned back in her chair. "Do you have proof of the affair?" "Not really. I only heard him on the phone once." "It doesn't matter," Beverly said. "This is a no-fault state. We don't need to prove infidelity. What matters is the assets. You said you paid for the house. With my inheritance. My grandmother left me $200,000 when I died. I put it all toward the down payment and the first 2 years of mortgage payments. Is the house in your name?" "Both our names." Beverly frowned. "That complicates things. But I paid for it. I have bank records. I have everything." "Good. What about the car?" "I bought it for him. Anniversary gift. It's in his name, but I have the receipt showing I paid for it." Beverly made more notes. "Retirement accounts? Savings? We have one joint checking account. He puts his salary in, I put mine in. But I have a separate savings account he doesn't know about." "How much?" $75,000. It's money I inherited from my aunt 3 years ago. I never told him about it." Beverly's expression changed. Not quite a smile, but close. "Smart woman. Here's what we're going to do." For the next hour, Beverly outlined a plan. It was legal. It was thorough. It was exactly what Naomi needed. "The house is tricky," Beverly explained. "Because both your names are on it, we can't just remove him. But we can sell it. As joint owners, either spouse can initiate a sale. If he contests it, he would need to buy you out at fair market value, which I'm guessing he can't afford." "He can't," Naomi confirmed. "He has debt from his failed business. Credit cards maxed out. He's been living off my income for 2 years. Even better. We sell the house fast. You take your share, which will be substantial given your initial investment. We file for divorce the same day. By the time he returns from his trip, it's done. Can we really move that fast? I know a real estate agent who specializes in quick sales. And I know a judge who can rush the preliminary paperwork. The final divorce won't be complete in 3 weeks, but we can have the separation agreement signed and the assets divided." Naomi felt something loosen in her chest. Hope. Actual real hope. "What about his stuff? His belongings?" "You're legally obligated to preserve his personal property. but only his personal property. Anything you brought to the marriage, anything you bought with your money, anything that's yours stays yours. That's everything, Naomi said. The furniture, the appliances, the decorations. I bought all of it. Then you take all of it. Naomi left Beverly's office with a folder full of documents to sign and a timeline that made her dizzy. Sell the house by next week. File for divorce 3 days before Trevor returns. Move out completely 2 days before he gets back. It was tight but possible. Her next stop was the real estate office. The agent, a woman named Patricia, took one look at the house photos and whistled. This will sell in 48 hours. Maybe less. It's a seller's market and your neighborhood is hot. I can have it listed by tomorrow. Do it, Naomi said. There's usually a waiting period, inspections, negotiations. I'm willing to accept any reasonable offer with a fast closing. No repairs, no negotiations. As is, cash offers only. Patricia's eyes widened. You're serious? Completely. Give me 24 hours. Naomi went home and started documenting everything. She photographed every room, every piece of furniture, every appliance. She found receipts going back years. The couch from their second anniversary. The dining table from year 4. The television from last Christmas. All purchased with her money, often with her credit card, always with her careful planning. Trevor had contributed almost nothing to their home except his presence. And apparently that presence was irritating. When Trevor came home that evening, Naomi had dinner ready. She had cleaned the house. She had even put on makeup. She smiled when he walked in, kissed his cheek, asked about his day. He looked surprised. You're in a good mood. Just happy, she said. Life is good. He looked suspicious for a moment, then shrugged. Work was fine. Boring meetings. The usual. They ate dinner while Trevor talked about his trip. He had so many plans. Snorkeling. Beach bars. Sunset cruises. He talked about it like he was going alone, but Naomi knew better. Candace would be there. Candace with her wealth and her freedom and her complete lack of conscience. Sounds amazing, Naomi said. You deserve a break. Trevor actually smiled at her. A real smile. Thanks for understanding. I know I've been distant lately. This trip will help. Clear my head. Maybe when I get back we can work on us. Naomi nodded, but inside she was laughing. There would be no us. There would be no working on anything. By the time he got back, there would only be empty rooms and unanswered questions. That night, while Trevor slept, Naomi packed a small bag. Just a few changes of clothes, some toiletries, her important documents. She hid it in her car. Tomorrow, Patricia would call with offers on the house. Tomorrow the disappearing would really begin. She looked at Trevor sleeping. He was snoring, sprawled across the bed like he owned it. Like he owned everything. She felt nothing. Not love. Not hate. Just a cold, clear determination. He had wished for her to disappear. She was granting his wish. But he would learn that some wishes, once granted, became curses. And Naomi would make sure this curse lasted forever. The offers came in within 6 hours of the listing going live. Patricia called Naomi at work, her voice excited. 5 offers. All cash. One is $15,000 over asking price. Naomi stepped into a conference room for privacy. What's the fastest close? 3 of them can close in 2 weeks. One is offering 18 days. Take the 18-day offer. But the higher offer can close in 2 weeks too. I need it to close exactly 18 days from now. Not sooner. Can they do that? There was a pause. Let me call them. I'll get back to you. 20 minutes later, Patricia confirmed. They agreed. Closing is set for 18 days from today. That's 2 days before your husband returns from his trip, right? Perfect. Naomi hung up and sat in the empty conference room. Her heart was racing. It was really happening. In 18 days the house would belong to someone else. In 18 days she would be free. But first she needed to handle the money. That afternoon, Naomi left work early and drove to the bank. She had done her research. She knew the law. Joint accounts meant either party could withdraw funds. She wasn't taking anything that wasn't hers. Trevor's salary from the last month was still in there, about $4,000. His share. She would leave that. Everything else was hers. The bank manager, a man named Gerald, looked concerned when Naomi explained what she wanted. Mrs. Fletcher, are you sure about this? Withdrawing this much cash at once can have tax implications. I'm not withdrawing cash, Naomi said. I'm transferring it to my personal savings account. The one I opened 3 years ago. And your husband knows about this? Naomi looked Gerald straight in the eye. My husband will know exactly what he needs to know when he needs to know it. Gerald processed the transfer. $43,000 moved from the joint account to her private savings account, which already held $75,000 from her aunt's inheritance. The joint account now held $4,212. Trevor's last paycheck and a little extra. Done, Gerald said. Is there anything else? Yes. I want to close my name off all joint accounts. Credit cards, everything. Today. That requires both signatures. Then I want to remove my authorization. Make it so I can't access them, but I'm also not responsible for them. That I can do. While Gerald processed the paperwork, Naomi thought about the invisible money. The money Trevor never knew existed. Her grandmother had been smart. She had pulled Naomi aside before she died and said, "Don't ever tell a man about all your money. Keep something for yourself. Just in case." Naomi had been 24 then, not even dating Trevor yet. She thought her grandmother was being dramatic, old-fashioned. Now she understood. Her grandmother had lived through her own bad marriage. She knew what it was like to be trapped. She had made sure Naomi would always have a way out. And her aunt had done the same. When she passed away 3 years ago, she left Naomi $75,000 with a note that said, "This is your freedom money. Don't let anyone take it from you." Naomi had deposited it in a private account at a different bank. She never mentioned it to Trevor. At first, she told herself it was because the money felt too personal, too connected to her aunt's memory. But deep down she knew it was more than that. Even then she had felt something shifting in her marriage. She had felt herself becoming smaller, quieter, less important. The money was her insurance policy. And now it was her escape plan. From the bank, Naomi drove to a storage unit she had rented 2 days ago. Inside she had already placed some boxes. Photographs. Keepsakes. Her grandmother's jewelry. Her aunt's art collection. Things that were hers alone, things Trevor had never noticed or cared about. Over the next 2 weeks, this storage unit would fill up with her life. The furniture she loved. The dishes her mother gave her. The books she collected. Everything that mattered would disappear into this concrete room until it was time to move it to her new apartment. Her new apartment. Naomi had signed the lease yesterday. It was across the city in a neighborhood Trevor never visited. 2 bedrooms, big windows, a balcony with a view. It was more expensive than she needed, but she didn't care. It was hers. Only her name on the lease. Only her keys. The deposit and first month's rent had taken a chunk of her savings, but she had plenty left. More than enough to start over. More than enough to build the life she deserved. Naomi spent the evening packing. She worked in the guest room where she had been sleeping for the last 3 months. Trevor hadn't even noticed when she moved out of their bedroom. He was always too tired, too busy, too distracted by his phone and his secret girlfriend. She packed her clothes first. Her favorite dresses. Her work suits. Her comfortable pajamas. Everything went into boxes marked winter clothes or donations, just in case Trevor looked. She doubted he would, but she wasn't taking chances. Next came her personal items. Her laptop. Her journals. Her collection of notebooks filled with story ideas and dreams she had stopped pursuing when she got married. She had wanted to be a writer once. Trevor had laughed at that. "Writing doesn't pay bills," he said. "Be realistic." So she had been realistic. She got a job in marketing, worked her way up, made good money. And she stopped writing. Stopped dreaming. Stopped being the woman she wanted to be. But that woman wasn't gone. She was just buried. And now Naomi was digging her back up. When Trevor came home that night, Naomi was watching television in the living room, surrounded by empty boxes. "What's all this?" he asked. "Just organizing," Naomi said. "Thinking about donating some old stuff. Spring cleaning." "In February? Why not? New year, new start." Trevor shrugged and went to take a shower. He didn't care about the boxes. He didn't care about anything she did as long as she didn't bother him. Naomi listened to the water running and thought about all the years she had spent trying to make him happy. Cooking his favorite foods. Watching his favorite shows. Supporting his dreams while hers died quietly in the dark. No more. She was done shrinking. Done apologizing. Done being the woman who irritated him simply by existing. In 18 days he would come home to emptiness. And he would finally understand what he had lost. Not the house. Not the car. Not the money. Those were just things. He would understand that he had lost a woman who loved him, who supported him, who built a home for him. A woman who would have given him everything if he had just treated her like she mattered. But he didn't. And now it was too late. The countdown had started. And Naomi was going to enjoy every single second of watching her old life disappear, making room for the new one waiting just around the corner. Trevor left on a Tuesday morning. He was excited, practically bouncing as he loaded his suitcase into his car. The car Naomi bought him for their 5th anniversary, the car he believed he earned through his own hard work. 3 weeks, he said, kissing her cheek without really looking at her. I'll call you. He wouldn't. Naomi knew that. He would be too busy with Candace, too wrapped up in his fantasy vacation to remember the wife he left behind. Have fun, Naomi said. She even waved as he drove away. The second his car turned the corner, she pulled out her phone. He's gone. Let's do this. Rochelle arrived 30 minutes later with her brother's moving truck. I can't believe you're really doing this. Believe it, Naomi said. They worked fast. The movers Naomi hired showed up an hour later, for strong men who didn't ask questions. They just did the job. The couch went first. The one Naomi bought when they moved into the house because the old one from Trevor's bachelor days was falling apart. The dining table. The bedroom set. The expensive mattress Trevor complained was too soft but never offered to help replace. Every room emptied out piece by piece. The artwork Naomi collected. The lamp she chose. The rug she saved up for. The television she bought last Christmas. Everything went into the truck and then into her storage unit. What about his stuff? Rochelle asked, pointing to Trevor's ratty armchair, the one that clashed with everything else in the house. Leave it, Naomi said. That's his. From before we got married. He can keep it. By evening, the house looked completely different. Empty rooms echoed when they walked through them. The walls showed darker squares where pictures had hung. The floors revealed stains where furniture had sat for years. Naomi left Trevor exactly what he brought into the marriage. His armchair. His old dresser from college. His collection of sports memorabilia. His clothes. His toiletries. She even left him sheets for the bed and towels in the bathroom. Everything he needed to survive, but nothing that made the space feel like home. Because it wasn't a home anymore. It was just a house. Empty and cold and exactly what he deserved. Over the next 13 days, Naomi transformed. She stopped dyeing her hair, let her natural texture show. She bought new clothes in colors Trevor never liked. Bright yellows. Deep purples. Bold patterns that made her feel alive. She went to the lawyer 3 more times. Signed papers. Reviewed documents. Beverly had everything ready. The divorce filing. The asset division. The separation agreement. He's going to fight this, Beverly warned. Men like him always do. Let him fight, Naomi said. Everything is legal. Everything is documented. He has no case. The house money will be split. Half to you, half to him. But given your initial investment and the payments you made, your half will be significantly more. How much? Beverly showed her the numbers. After the sale closed and the mortgage was paid off, Naomi would walk away with $120,000. Trevor would get $45,000. But that's not fair, Naomi said. I paid for everything. It's a joint asset. We're lucky to get you this much. The fact that you can prove your initial investment and the bulk of the payments is what's giving you the larger share. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. And it was better than staying in a marriage where she was nothing but an irritation. Naomi spent her evenings setting up her new apartment. She arranged furniture, hung curtains, made the space feel like hers. She bought fresh flowers for the kitchen. She set up a small desk by the window where she could write. At night she wrote. Stories she had abandoned years ago. New ideas that came to her in dreams. Words poured out of her like they had been trapped inside, waiting for permission to exist. She wasn't good yet. Her writing was rusty, awkward in places. But it was hers. And that made it beautiful. During the day she worked. She smiled at her colleagues. She did her job well. No one knew what was happening in her personal life. She kept it private, kept it contained. The only people who knew were Beverly, Rochelle, and Naomi's mother, who had said simply, "It's about time." On day 13, Naomi went back to the old house one final time. The closing was tomorrow. The house would officially belong to someone else. Tonight was her last chance to say goodbye. She walked through the empty rooms, her footsteps echoing. She remembered the day they moved in. How excited she had been. How hopeful. This was going to be their forever home. Their children would grow up here. They would grow old together in this house. But there were no children. Trevor always said he wasn't ready. And now she understood why. You don't have children with someone you're planning to leave. You don't build a future with someone whose presence irritates you. In the kitchen, Naomi placed the note. She had written it 3 times before she got it right. Short, direct, devastating. She set it on the counter where Trevor always dropped his keys, right next to the mail slot. The note said everything she couldn't say to his face. Everything she had held inside for years. It was her final goodbye. Her last word. And after tomorrow she would never speak to him again. Naomi locked the door behind her. She dropped the key in the mailbox for the new owners. And she drove away without looking back. Tomorrow the house would close. In 1 week Trevor would return. In 1 week he would find his empty house and his emptier life. And Naomi would be long gone, already living the life she deserved. Freedom had never tasted so sweet. The closing took 45 minutes. Naomi sat in the title company's office, signing paper after paper. Her hand cramped. Her head spun with all the legal language. But when it was done, when the final signature was placed, she felt lighter than she had in years. "Congratulations," the title agent said, handing her a check. "The funds will be transferred to your account by tomorrow." Naomi looked at the check. $120,000. Her grandmother's inheritance, returned with interest. The money she had poured into making a home for a man who wished she would disappear. Now it was coming back to her, setting her free. Trevor's portion would go into an account with his name on it. Beverly had set it up so he could access the money, but only after he signed the divorce papers. He would have to choose. Fight for a marriage that was already dead or take the money and move on. Naomi knew which he would choose. Trevor always chose money. From the title company, Naomi went straight to Beverly's office. It was time to file the divorce papers. "This is your last chance to back out," Beverly said. "Once we file, it starts a process that's hard to stop." "File it," Naomi said. Beverly pulled out a folder 2 inches thick. Inside were documents that detailed the end of a marriage, the division of assets, the dissolution of a partnership, the legal death of a relationship that had been dying for years. "He'll be served the day after he returns," Beverly explained. "A process server will hand him the papers at his work. We're doing it publicly on purpose. Let him feel embarrassed. Let him explain to his colleagues why his wife is divorcing him." "Good," Naomi said. She signed every page. Her signature got stronger with each one. By the end, she was signing with confidence, with certainty, with the knowledge that she was doing the right thing. That afternoon, Naomi went through her storage unit and organized everything. She had documentation for every item. Purchase receipts, credit card statements, bank transfers. Everything was cataloged and labeled. The couch from year 2, purchased with her credit card. Receipt attached. The dining table from year 4, paid for with her birthday money from her parents. Receipt attached. The television from last Christmas, bought with her annual bonus. Receipt attached. Page after page. Item after item. A decade of building a home, all documented in neat folders with color-coded tabs. There was almost nothing Trevor could claim. The old armchair she left him. His dresser. His clothes. That was it. Everything else belonged to her because she had paid for it. Naomi had always been good with money. She tracked every penny, saved her receipts, balanced her accounts every month. Trevor had called her obsessive. Now that obsession was saving her. She also had emails. Hundreds of them. Messages between her and Trevor about purchases they were making, where she would ask if he wanted to contribute and he would say he was short on cash. Could she cover it? He would pay her back. He never paid her back. There were text messages too. Screenshots Naomi had saved without even knowing why. Conversations where Trevor complained about his debt, his failed business, his maxed-out credit cards. Proof that he had no money, that he brought nothing to their marriage except his presence. His irritating presence. Beverly had been right to tell her to document everything. Without these records, Trevor could claim half of the furniture, half of the appliances, half of everything. But with documentation he had no case. That evening, Naomi had dinner with her mother at a restaurant downtown. Her mother had been quiet about the divorce, supportive but reserved. Now, over pasta and wine, she finally spoke her mind. "I never liked him," her mother said. Naomi almost choked on her wine. "What?" "Trevor. I never liked him. He was always too focused on himself. Too quick to put you down. Too comfortable letting you do all the work. Why didn't you say anything?" Her mother shrugged. "You loved him. Or you thought you did. And you're stubborn. If I had said something, you would have defended him. You had to figure it out yourself. I wasted 10 years. You didn't waste anything. You learned. You grew. And now you're strong enough to walk away. That's not a waste. That's survival." Naomi felt tears prick her eyes. Not sad tears. Relieved tears. Thank you. For what? For not saying I told you so. Her mother reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Baby, I'm just glad you're free. Now you can find someone who actually deserves you. But Naomi didn't want to think about finding someone else. Not yet. Right now, she just wanted to find herself. The version of herself that existed before Trevor. The version that dreamed big and laughed loud and didn't apologize for taking up space. That night, Naomi went back to her new apartment and looked through old photos. Pictures from college. From her early 20s. Before Trevor. She looked happy in those photos. Confident. Alive. When did that change? When did she start shrinking? It happened gradually, she realized. One small comment at a time. One criticism. One eye roll. One moment of being made to feel like she was too much or not enough or just generally irritating. Trevor had spent years making her smaller and she had let him. But not anymore. She was done being small. Done being quiet. Done being anyone other than exactly who she was. On her laptop, she opened a new document and started writing. Not a story this time. A list. Everything she wanted to do now that she was free. Travel to New York. Take a pottery class. Learn to dance. Date someone kind. Write a book. Laugh without apologizing. Take up space. Never shrink again. The list grew. Line after line. Dream after dream. By the time she finished, it was 2 pages long. A whole life waiting to be lived. A whole version of herself waiting to emerge. In 5 days Trevor would come home. In 5 days he would find the note. In 5 days his world would collapse. But Naomi's world was already expanding, growing bigger and brighter with every passing moment. She had the paper trail. She had the documentation. She had the proof. But more importantly, she had herself back. And that was worth more than any house, any car, any marriage certificate. Trevor had wanted her to disappear. And she had. But she hadn't vanished into nothing. She had disappeared into something better. Something bigger. Something entirely her own. And she was never coming back. The night before Trevor was supposed to return, Naomi couldn't sleep. She lay in her new bed in her new apartment, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow everything would explode. Tomorrow Trevor would discover what she had done. Tomorrow the carefully built facade would crumble. She should feel guilty. She should feel scared. She should feel something other than this cold satisfaction. But guilt required believing she had done something wrong. And Naomi knew deep in her bones that she hadn't. She had simply removed herself from a situation that was killing her slowly. She had chosen herself. And that was never wrong. At midnight she gave up on sleep. She got up, made tea and sat by the window. The city lights sparkled below her. Up here in this apartment Trevor would never find. Naomi felt safe. Protected. Free. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rochelle. You okay? Can't sleep. Want me to come over? No. Just thinking. About the note? Yeah. The note. It sat on the kitchen counter of the empty house, waiting for Trevor to find it. Naomi had gone back and forth about what to say. Should she be kind? Should she be honest? Should she explain herself? In the end she decided on the truth. Simple. Direct. Devastating. She pulled up a photo of the note on her phone. She had taken a picture before she left it, wanting to remember exactly what she wrote. You wished I would disappear. I'm granting your wish. The house was mine. The car was mine. The life you thought you built was mine. Now it's all gone just like me. Don't look for me. Divorce papers are with your lawyer. And 33 words. 33 words to end a 10-year marriage. It felt too short. But what else was there to say? Any explanation would sound like an excuse. Any justification would make it seem like she needed his understanding. She didn't need anything from him. Not anymore. At 3 in the morning, Naomi's phone buzzed again. This time it was Beverly. Can't sleep either? Nope. Second thoughts. Not even first thoughts. I know this is right. Good. Because tomorrow is going to be chaos. He's going to call you. Text you. Maybe show up at your old address. Are you prepared for that? My number is disconnected. New phone, new number. He can't reach me. What about work? I requested a leave of absence. Told them it was a family emergency. They approved 2 weeks. Smart. What about mutual friends? I told them before I left. The real friends understood. The others weren't really friends anyway. There was a pause. Then Beverly said, You've thought of everything. I had to. I know how he is. He'll try every angle. He'll play the victim. He'll tell everyone I'm crazy, that I left out of nowhere, that he had no idea what was wrong. Let him. The divorce papers tell a different story. And once people see the documentation, they'll understand. Naomi hoped that was true. But she also didn't care. Let people believe whatever they wanted. She knew the truth. That was enough. As the sun rose, Naomi finally fell asleep. She dreamed of empty houses and full lives, of locked doors and open windows, of endings that were actually beginnings in disguise. She woke at noon, groggy and disoriented. Then she remembered. Today. It was happening today. Trevor's flight landed at 3. He would be home by 4. He would walk into the empty house by 4:30. In 5 hours, her disappearance would be complete. Naomi showered and dressed in her favorite yellow dress. The one Trevor said was too bright. She put on red lipstick. She styled her natural hair in a way that made her feel beautiful. She looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. This was the real her. The her that existed before Trevor. The her that would exist long after Trevor. Confident. Bold. Unafraid. At 3:15 her phone rang. Her new phone with her new number. It was Beverly. He landed. How do you know? I have a friend who works at the airport. She spotted him. He's with a woman. Candace. Presumably. They looked cozy. He was laughing. Of course he was. He had no idea what was waiting for him. He probably thought he would come home, shower, and then go right back to his regular life. Work tomorrow. Maybe dinner with Naomi tomorrow night. The same boring routine. He had no idea there was no routine left. No home. No wife. No comfortable life to return to. Are you going to be okay? Beverly asked. Better than okay, Naomi said. I'm going to be great. At 4:30, Naomi was at a coffee shop across town with Rochelle. They sat by the window watching people walk by trying to act normal. But Naomi's leg bounced under the table. Her hands shook when she lifted her cup. Drink, Rochelle said. Breathe. It's almost over. But it wasn't over. It was just beginning. This was the moment everything changed. This was the moment Trevor would understand what he had lost. At 5 o'clock, Beverly called again. He's at the house. My investigator is watching from across the street. And? He tried his key. It didn't work. He's walking around the house now, looking in windows. Naomi could picture it. Trevor, confused, annoyed, starting to feel the first flicker of panic. What was going on? Why didn't his key work? Where was Naomi? He just broke a window to get in, Beverly reported. He's inside now. Naomi waited. Her heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. Any second now. Any second he would find the note. He's screaming, Beverly said. Her voice was calm, factual. He just found the note. He's calling someone. Probably you. Or Candace. I hope she answers, Naomi said. I hope she has to deal with his panic. Because Candace was part of this too. She knew Trevor was married. She knew she was breaking up a home. Let her deal with the consequences. Let her see what kind of man Trevor really was when things didn't go his way. He's sitting on the floor now, Beverly continued. Looks like he's crying. Good, Naomi said. She felt no sympathy, no regret, just satisfaction. He wanted her to disappear. Now he knew what that actually meant. Not a magic trick, not a convenient exit, but a complete and total removal from his life, taking everything with her, leaving him with nothing but his own wishes granted. The process server will be at his work tomorrow morning, Beverly said. The divorce papers will be official. After that, it's just a waiting game. How long? 6 months minimum. Could be longer if he fights it. He'll fight, Naomi said. He always fights when he doesn't get his way. Let him. We have everything. The documentation. The bank records. The proof. He can't win this. After the call ended, Naomi and Rochelle sat in silence. Then Rochelle said, How do you feel? Naomi thought about it. How did she feel? Not sad. Not angry. Not even particularly happy. She felt solid. Like she was standing on firm ground for the first time in years. Like she was real again. I feel like I exist, Naomi finally said. Like I'm not invisible anymore. You were never invisible. He just didn't want to see you. Same thing. No, not the same thing at all. His blindness doesn't make you invisible. It just makes him blind. Naomi smiled. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You were just too busy trying to save your marriage to notice. That night, alone in her apartment, Naomi read the note again. The one she left for Trevor. The one that said everything and nothing. She wondered if he understood it, if he grasped the meaning behind the words. Probably not. Men like Trevor never understood. They went through life taking and taking, never realizing what they had until it was gone. And even then they didn't understand why it left. They just felt angry that it was no longer there for them to use. But that wasn't Naomi's problem anymore. She had said what she needed to say. She had done what she needed to do. And now she was moving forward, into a life that was completely and entirely her own. The note was the end of one story. But it was also the beginning of another. And Naomi couldn't wait to see what came next. Trevor stood in the middle of his living room, or what used to be his living room, and screamed. The sound echoed off the bare walls, bounced around the empty space, and came back to him like a taunt. He screamed again. And again. Until his throat was raw and his voice was gone. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. He had left 3 weeks ago. 3 perfect weeks in the Caribbean with Candace. Sunday beach. Freedom. They had laughed and danced and made plans. Big plans. He was going to leave Naomi. Move in with Candace. Start over. Finally be happy. But he was supposed to be the one doing the leaving. He was supposed to be in control. Now he stood in an empty house, holding a note that made his hands shake, and nothing made sense. The key hadn't worked. That was his first clue something was wrong. He stood on his front porch, sliding his key into the lock over and over, and it wouldn't turn. He called Naomi. Her phone was disconnected. He called again. Same message. Panic started to set in. He walked around the house looking in windows. Empty. Everything was empty. Where was the furniture? Where was Naomi? What the hell was going on? He broke the small window by the back door. Reached through. Unlocked it. Climbed inside. And that's when he really saw it. Nothing. The whole house was nothing but echoes and dust. His armchair sat alone in the living room. His old dresser stood in the bedroom. His clothes hung in the closet. But everything else was gone. The couch. The tables. The television. The bed. Everything that made this place a home had vanished. He found the note in the kitchen. Right where he always dropped his keys, right next to a pile of mail that had accumulated while he was gone. The handwriting was Naomi's. Neat. Controlled. Exactly like her. He read it once. Then again. Then again. The words didn't change. You wished I would disappear. I'm granting your wish. His stomach dropped. She had heard him. That phone call with Candace 3 weeks ago. When he said her presence irritated him. When he said he wished she would disappear. Naomi had been home. She had heard everything. Trevor tried to think back to that day. Had she acted different? Had she given any sign? He couldn't remember. The last 3 weeks with Candace had erased everything that came before. He had been too busy planning his future to think about his present. He pulled out his new phone. The one Candace bought him for the trip. His old phone had too many connections to his old life. This new phone was for his new life. Except now his new life seemed to be falling apart. He called Candace. She answered on the 5th ring, sounding annoyed. What's wrong? Everything. She's gone. Naomi's gone. The house is empty. Everything is gone. There was a pause. What do you mean gone? I mean gone. There's nothing here. She took everything. The furniture. The money. Everything. She left me a note saying she disappeared. What do I do? Another pause. Longer this time. Trevor, I can't deal with this right now. I have a meeting in 10 minutes. Did you hear what I said? My wife left me. She took everything. Your wife that you were planning to leave anyway? The one you spent 3 weeks complaining about? That wife. Trevor felt anger rising. This is different. She wasn't supposed to leave me. I was supposed to leave her. Why does it matter who left who? Because. Trevor couldn't finish the sentence. Because it made him look weak. Because it made him the victim instead of the hero of his own story. Because he was supposed to be the one making the choice, not having the choice made for him. Look, Candace said, her voice cold now. I think we need to take a break. What? No. Candace, I left everything for you. You left nothing. She left you. There's a difference. And honestly, Trevor, this is too much drama for me. I have a business to run. I can't be dealing with your divorce and your empty house and your victim complex. My what? I have to go. Don't call me for a while. She hung up. Trevor stared at his phone. Candace had just dumped him. In the middle of the biggest crisis of his life, she had dumped him. The woman he had spent 3 weeks planning a future with had just walked away without a second thought. He tried to call her back. She didn't answer. He sent texts. They went unread. He called from the house phone. She blocked that number too. Trevor sat on the floor of his empty living room and tried to understand what was happening. 12 hours ago, he was on a beach with a beautiful woman making plans. Now he was alone in an empty house with nothing but his old armchair and growing sense of horror. He called his best friend Jake. "Dude, you need to come over here. Now." "What's wrong?" "Just come. Please." Jake arrived 20 minutes later. He walked through the empty house with his mouth open. "What happened?" "Naomi left me. Took everything. I don't know what to do." Jake looked at the note. He read it twice. Then he looked at Trevor. "What did you do?" "Nothing. I went on vacation and came back to this. Nobody leaves like this for no reason." "What did you do?" Trevor thought about lying. But what was the point? Jake would find out eventually. "I was seeing someone. Candace. I was going to leave Naomi. But Naomi left first." Jake's expression changed. Not surprise. Disappointment. "You cheated on her." "It's more complicated than that." "How?" "We weren't happy. We hadn't been happy for a long time. I was just moving on. While still married. While still living in her house. While still letting her support you. It's not her house. It's our house." Jake laughed. It wasn't a nice sound. "Dude, everyone knows Naomi paid for everything. Your car. This house. The furniture. Everything. You've been living off her for years." "That's not true." "It is true. We all knew it. We just didn't say anything because you're our friend. But come on. Your business failed. Your credit cards are maxed out. Where do you think the money was coming from?" Trevor didn't have an answer. Because Jake was right. He had been living off Naomi. He just never thought about it that way. It was their money, he told himself. A marriage is a partnership. What's hers is his. Except apparently it wasn't. Apparently it was all hers. And now it was all gone. "Where's your girlfriend?" Jake asked. "She dumped me. Said it was too much drama." Jake nodded slowly. "So you cheated on your wife, she left you, your girlfriend dumped you, and you're alone in an empty house. That about sum it up." "Don't make it sound like that." "Like what?" "Like the truth." Trevor felt tears coming. He tried to hold them back, but they spilled over anyway. He was crying. Actually crying. Jake watched him without sympathy. "What do I do?" Trevor asked. "You grow up," Jake said. "You accept that you screwed up. You sign whatever papers Naomi's lawyer sends you. You move on with your life. And you never, ever treat another woman like you treated her." But nothing. She's done, Trevor. Can't you see that? This wasn't an emotional decision. This was planned. She documented everything. She moved out carefully. She left you what's yours and took what's hers. She's not coming back. How do you know? Because women don't go to this much trouble unless they're completely finished. She didn't just leave. She disappeared. Like you wished. Trevor felt sick. How do you know what I wished? I don't. But I'm guessing it's in that note. And I'm guessing it's something you actually said. Am I right? Trevor didn't answer. He didn't have to. His face said everything. Jake stood up. "I'm leaving. Call me when you're ready to be a man about this. Until then, you're on your own. Don't leave me here. You're not a child, Trevor. Figure it out." Jake walked out, leaving the door open behind him. Trevor sat alone in the empty house as the sun set. He tried to make plans. He tried to think of solutions. But his mind kept circling back to one thing. Naomi was gone. Really, truly gone. And he had no idea how to get her back. Worse, he was starting to realize that he didn't deserve to get her back. And even worse than that, he was starting to understand that she knew it too. The process server found Trevor at work 2 days later. He was in a meeting trying to pretend everything was normal. Trying to act like his life hadn't imploded. The conference room door opened and a woman in a business suit walked in. "Trevor Fletcher?" "Yes." "You've been served." She handed him a thick envelope and walked out. The room went silent. All 8 of his colleagues stared at him. His boss, sitting at the head of the table, looked furious. "Meeting's over. Trevor, my office. Now." Trevor followed his boss down the hallway, feeling everyone's eyes on him. In the office, his boss closed the door and crossed his arms. "Divorce papers? At work? During a meeting with clients? I didn't know she was going to do that. I don't care. This is unprofessional. You're a mess, Trevor. You've been a mess since you got back from vacation. Whatever is going on in your personal life, figure it out. Fast. Because if it affects your work again, you're done here." Trevor went back to his desk and opened the envelope. Inside were divorce papers, asset division documents, and a detailed account of his and Naomi's finances. He read through them, his hands shaking. She was asking for almost nothing in ongoing support. No alimony. No spousal maintenance. She just wanted her share of the house sale and a clean break. The house sale. Trevor called the number on the papers. Beverly's office. A receptionist answered. I need to speak to Beverly. It's about Naomi Fletcher's case. Are you represented by an attorney? No, but. Then I can't help you. Ms. Beverly only speaks to opposing counsel, not to parties directly. This is ridiculous. I'm her husband. Soon to be ex-husband. I suggest you hire a lawyer. Have a good day. Click. Trevor spent the next 3 hours calling divorce attorneys. Most were too expensive. The ones he could afford were booked for weeks. Finally, he found someone who could see him the next day. A man named Richard who sounded bored on the phone. Bring all the papers. We'll see what we can do. That night, Trevor stayed in a motel. He couldn't bear to be in the empty house. He ordered takeout and sat on the uncomfortable bed, staring at the divorce papers. He tried calling Naomi one more time. Disconnected. He tried her email. Bounced back. He tried her mother. She answered, her voice cold. She doesn't want to talk to you. I need to explain. Explain what? That you cheated on her? That you wished she would disappear? She told me everything, Trevor. Every single thing. And honestly, I should have said something years ago. You were never good enough for her. Please just tell her I want to talk. No. Leave her alone. Sign the papers. Move on. And don't ever contact any of us again. She hung up. Trevor tried her friends. Rochelle answered only to tell him he was a piece of garbage and hung up before he could respond. Her other friends didn't answer at all. He was completely shut out. Every door was closed. Every bridge was burned. Naomi had been thorough. The meeting with Richard the lawyer didn't go well. You don't have a case, Richard said, flipping through the papers. She documented everything. She paid for the house. She paid for the furniture. She kept records. You can fight it, but you'll lose and spend a fortune doing it. So what do I do? Sign the papers. Take your share of the house sale. Move on with your life. That's it. That's it. Unless you have proof that she did something illegal, which you don't, you're done. She outplayed you. Trevor left the office feeling hollow. He drove back to the empty house and walked through the rooms. In the bedroom, he found something he hadn't noticed before. A stack of photographs on the dresser. Pictures of him and Naomi from throughout their marriage. Wedding day. First apartment. Vacations. Holidays. In every picture, Naomi was smiling. But looking at them now, Trevor could see it. The smile didn't reach her eyes. She looked tired. Resigned. Like she was going through the motions. When had that started? When did she stop being genuinely happy? He thought back. Year 3 maybe? After his business failed and she had to take on more work to support them. She never complained. Never made him feel bad about it. She just worked harder, made it work, kept their life stable. And he had resented her for it. Resented her capability. Her responsibility. Her strength. It made him feel small. So he had started pulling away. Started criticizing her. Started making her feel like the problem was her, not him. Trevor sat on the floor and looked at the pictures. In the wedding photo, Naomi was radiant. Truly happy. He had taken that away from her. Year by year. Day by day. Until she was so worn down that she just left. His phone rang. A number he didn't recognize. He answered hopefully. Hello? Trevor? It's Candace. His heart jumped. Candace. I've been trying to reach you. I know. Listen, I need you to stop calling me. I'm going back to my husband. We're working things out. What? But you said you were going to leave him for me. I was never going to leave him. Not really. You were fun. A distraction. But that's all you were. A distraction? I left my wife for you. No, Trevor. Your wife left you. And honestly, I don't blame her. You spend all your time complaining. About your job. About your money problems. About her. It was exhausting. So you used me. We used each other. Don't pretend you're some victim here. You knew I was married. You knew this wasn't going to last. You just didn't care because you liked the attention. Trevor started to argue, but she had already hung up. He looked at his phone. At the divorce papers on the floor. At the empty house around him. And he finally understood. He had destroyed everything. His marriage. His home. His friendship with Jake. Even his affair had been a lie. He had nothing left because he had valued nothing while he had it. The next morning, Trevor signed the divorce papers. He didn't fight. He didn't argue. He just signed his name and sent them back to Beverly's office. Within a week, his share of the house money was in his account. $45,000. Less than he expected. But everything was legal, everything was documented, and there was nothing he could do about it. He moved into a small apartment. 1 bedroom. Cheap furniture. It was all he could afford. The rest of his money went to paying off debt. He tried dating. But every woman he met seemed shallow compared to Naomi. They didn't make him laugh like she did. They didn't challenge him like she did. They weren't her. But Naomi was gone. And she wasn't coming back. He knew that now. Not because he had tried to find her, but because he finally understood what he had lost. And you don't get second chances with women like that. You get one. And he had wasted his. Trevor's life became small. Work. Apartment. Sleep. Repeat. He was going through the motions just like Naomi had been doing for years. And now, finally, he understood how awful that felt. To be alive but not living. To exist but not matter. To be invisible in your own life. He had made Naomi invisible. And now he was invisible too. The universe had a sense of justice after all. 6 months after she left, Naomi sat in a coffee shop writing. Her laptop was open, pages of a story flowing out of her faster than she could type. The story was about a woman who disappeared. Not because she was magic, but because she chose to. Because she realized that sometimes the only way to save yourself is to let go of everyone who's drowning you. Is this seat taken? Naomi looked up. A man stood there, smiling. He was tall, with dark skin and kind eyes. He wore paint-stained jeans and a sweater that looked handmade. It's all yours, she said. He sat down with his coffee and pulled out a sketchbook. For a while, they worked in comfortable silence. Naomi wrote. He drew. The coffee shop buzzed around them. After an hour, he spoke again. You're really focused. Working on something good. A book. Maybe. Or maybe just therapy disguised as fiction. He laughed. It was a nice laugh. Genuine. Aren't all books just therapy disguised as fiction? Good point. What are you drawing? He turned his sketchbook around. It was a drawing of the coffee shop, but reimagined. The walls were covered in vines. The ceiling had been replaced by sky. People sat at tables that grew from the ground like trees. It's beautiful, Naomi said. Thanks. I'm Isaac. I teach art at the community college. Naomi. I work in marketing. But I'm trying to be a writer. Why trying? You're writing. That makes you a writer. She liked that. Simple. Direct. No qualifications needed. I guess you're right. They talked for 3 hours. About art and writing and life and dreams. Isaac had been divorced for 2 years. He was honest about it, didn't hide it or make excuses. I wasn't ready to be married, he said. I was too focused on my career. She deserved better. So she found better. That's very mature of you. It took me a year of therapy to get there. But yeah, I get it now. Sometimes love isn't enough. You need respect too. And partnership. And actual presence. Naomi felt something crack open inside her chest. Here was a man who understood. Who had done the work. Who knew that relationships required more than just existing in the same space. When they finally left the coffee shop, Isaac asked for her number. She gave it to him. The real one. The new one. They went on their first date 3 days later. Dinner at a small restaurant that served food from his grandmother's home country. He told her stories about growing up between two cultures, never quite fitting in anywhere. She told him about disappearing from her old life, about starting over. That takes courage, Isaac said. Most people stay in bad situations because leaving feels impossible. It wasn't courage, Naomi said. It was survival. Same thing sometimes. Their second date was a walk through the park. Their third was a painting class where they both failed miserably and laughed the entire time. Their fourth was cooking dinner at her apartment, where he complimented her space and never once tried to change anything about it. By the end of month 2 they were dating exclusively. But it was different than it had been with Trevor. Lighter. Easier. Isaac asked questions and listened to the answers. He remembered things she said. He noticed when she was tired or stressed or happy. He saw her. I want to be honest with you about something, Isaac said one evening. They were at his place, a loft filled with artwork and plants. I'm not looking for anything casual. I did casual after my divorce. It left me feeling empty. I want something real. If that's not what you want, I understand. But I need to know. Naomi thought about it. 6 months ago she would have run from this conversation. She wasn't ready. She needed time. She needed space. But now, sitting across from this man who looked at her like she was someone worth seeing, she felt different. I want something real too, she said. But I need to take it slow. I'm still figuring out who I am outside of my marriage. We can go as slow as you need. And they did. They dated for 3 months before they slept together. 6 months before they said I love you. 8 months before he asked her to move in with him. Not yet, Naomi said. I'm not ready to give up my apartment. That's fair, Isaac said. And he meant it. He wasn't offended. Wasn't pushy. Just understanding. A year after she left Trevor, Naomi's book was finished. It wasn't perfect. It would need editing. But it was done. She had written a whole book. 90,000 words about a woman who disappeared and found herself. She sent it to 5 agents. 3 rejected it. 1 didn't respond. The 5th asked to represent her. I love this story, the agent said on the phone. It's honest and raw and exactly what readers need right now. Let me sell this for you. 2 months later, the book sold to a publisher. Not for a fortune but enough. Enough to feel real. Enough to feel like validation. Naomi called her mother, crying happy tears. I did it. I actually did it. Of course you did, her mother said. You're extraordinary. You always have been. You just needed to remember that. That night, Isaac took her to dinner to celebrate. I'm so proud of you, he said. You took everything that happened and turned it into art. I took pain and turned it into something beautiful, Naomi corrected. That's what survival looks like. Does it ever hurt? Looking back at everything with Trevor? Naomi thought about it. Did it hurt? Not anymore. I'm grateful for it now. I know that sounds weird. But if he hadn't pushed me away, I never would have found myself. I would still be trying to be small enough to fit into his life. You're not small, Isaac said. You're the biggest person I've ever met. Not in size. In presence. You take up space without apologizing. It's one of my favorite things about you. Naomi felt tears prick her eyes. Not sad tears. Happy tears. Grateful tears. She had found someone who not only saw her, but celebrated her. A year and a half after leaving Trevor, Naomi ran into a mutual friend at the grocery store. She hadn't seen Sam in months. Naomi. Oh my God, you look amazing. Thanks, Sam. How are you? They chatted for a few minutes. Then Sam said quietly, I heard about everything. With Trevor. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. You mean that? Completely. I'm happier now than I've been in 10 years. Sam hesitated. Then, I saw him last week. Trevor. He asked about you. Naomi felt nothing. No anger. No curiosity. Just a mild interest in how someone she used to know was doing. How is he? Not great, honestly. He's been jumping from relationship to relationship. Nothing sticks. He seems lost. That's unfortunate, Naomi said. And she meant it. Not in a petty way. She genuinely found it sad that Trevor was struggling. But it wasn't her problem. It wasn't her responsibility. He had to figure himself out just like she had. He wanted your number. I didn't give it to him. Good. We don't have anything to say to each other. He said he wanted to apologize. I don't need his apology. I've moved on. And she had. Completely. Trevor was a chapter in her past. A learning experience. A catalyst for change. But he wasn't part of her present or her future. Her future was with Isaac. With her writing. With her friends and family and the life she was building brick by brick, entirely on her own terms. That night, curled up on Isaac's couch, Naomi thought about how different she felt. How solid. How real. She had disappeared from one life and appeared in another. Better. Stronger. More herself than she had ever been. What are you thinking about? Isaac asked, running his fingers through her hair. How far I've come. Where were you before? Lost, Naomi said. I was so lost I didn't even know I was lost. But now I'm found. And I'm never going back. Good, Isaac said. Because I like exactly who and where you are. Naomi smiled. She liked who and where she was too. And that, more than anything else, was what made her disappearance worth it. 2 years after leaving Trevor, Naomi stood in a bookstore looking at a shelf. Her shelf. Her book sat there, spine out, with her name on it. She had seen it before, of course. She had been to book signings and readings. But it never got old. That small thrill of seeing proof that she existed, that she mattered, that she had something to say worth hearing. Are you going to buy a copy? Isaac asked, coming up behind her with coffee. I have 20 copies at home. So make it 21. She laughed and took the coffee from him. They were spending the Saturday browsing bookstores and art galleries, the way they did most weekends. Simple. Easy. Perfect. I have something to tell you, Isaac said as they walked to the next section. Naomi's heart jumped. That phrase could mean anything. Good news. Bad news. She waited. My lease is up in 3 months. Okay. I've been thinking about finding a new place. Something bigger. With space for a real studio. He paused. I was hoping you might want to look for a place together. Naomi felt warmth spread through her chest. A year ago she would have panicked. But now, standing in a bookstore with this man who saw her and celebrated her and never once tried to make her smaller, she felt ready. I'd like that, she said. Isaac's face lit up. Yeah. But I have conditions. Name them. I need my own office. For writing. And you need your own studio. We each have our own space. Deal? Deal. They found a place 2 months later. A house, actually. Small but perfect. 3 bedrooms. One for them, one for her office, one for his studio. A backyard with room for a garden. Windows that let in so much light the whole place seemed to glow. On moving day, Rochelle came to help. She walked through the house, nodding approvingly. This is nice. Really nice. You deserve this. I know, Naomi said. And she did know. She deserved happiness. She deserved partnership. She deserved a life that felt full instead of empty. Have you heard anything from Trevor? Rochelle asked as they unpacked kitchen boxes. No. Why? Just curious. Sam said he's been asking about you again. Naomi shrugged. He can ask all he wants. I'm not interested. Not even a little curious what he wants? Not even a little. That part of my life is over. Completely over. And it was. Naomi never thought about Trevor anymore. Sometimes days would pass without him crossing her mind at all. He had become less than a memory. Just a fact. Something that happened once. Something that led her here. Her book was doing well. Not bestseller well, but steady. Readers connected with it. Women who had left bad situations. Women who were thinking about leaving. Women who needed to know it was possible to start over. They wrote her emails and left reviews and told her the book changed their lives. You saved me, one email said. I thought I was stuck forever. Your book showed me I have options. Those emails made everything worth it. Every hard day in her marriage. Every moment of planning her escape. Every second of fear and doubt. It all led to this. To helping other women find their own way out. To showing them that disappearing wasn't giving up. It was showing up for yourself. 3 years after leaving Trevor, Isaac proposed. They were in the backyard she had planted, surrounded by flowers she had grown. He got down on one knee and pulled out a simple ring. I love you exactly as you are, he said. I don't want to change you. I don't want to fix you. I just want to be with you. Will you marry me? Naomi looked at this man who had been patient with her healing, who celebrated her successes, who gave her space when she needed it and closeness when she wanted it. This man who saw her as a whole person, not a supporting character in his story. Yes, she said. They got married in a small ceremony 6 months later. Just family and close friends. No big production. No stress. Just 2 people promising to love each other while staying themselves. Trevor's name never came up. Not once. He was so far in Naomi's past that he wasn't even a shadow anymore. Just a faded photograph. Something that used to exist but didn't anymore. The divorce had been final for 2 years. Trevor had signed everything without fighting. According to Sam, he had dated several women since then, but nothing lasted. He bounced from relationship to relationship, always looking for something he couldn't find. Naomi felt a distant pity for him. Not enough to reach out. Not enough to care deeply. Just a vague sadness that he was so lost. But that was his journey. Not hers. Her journey was here. In this house with this man. In this career she had built. In this life she had chosen. She woke up every day grateful. Genuinely grateful. For her space. Her voice. Her freedom to be exactly who she was. 4 years after leaving, Naomi's second book came out. This one was different. Not about leaving but about arriving. About building a life from scratch. About learning to trust again. About finding joy in simple things. At the book launch, surrounded by friends and family and readers who had followed her journey, Naomi felt complete. Not because she had a husband or a career or a nice house, but because she had herself. Fully. Finally. Without apology. Isaac stood beside her, proud but not possessive. He squeezed her hand and whispered, "You're amazing." "I know," she whispered back. And she did know. She had done something remarkable. She had disappeared from a life that was killing her and appeared in a life that made her thrive. She had turned pain into power. Hurt into healing. Endings into beginnings. That night in their bedroom, Isaac asked, Do you ever regret it? Leaving the way you did? Never, Naomi said. Not for a second. It was the only way. If I had stayed, if I had tried to fix it, I would have spent years being small, being quiet, being less than I am. Disappearing was the only way to actually live. He lost something precious. He did. But I gained something more precious. Myself. 5 years after leaving, Naomi got a message on social media. From Trevor. She almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity won. I know you probably won't read this. But I wanted to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. I didn't understand what I had. I didn't appreciate you. I was selfish and cruel and I wasted the best thing that ever happened to me. I hope you're happy. You deserve to be happy. Naomi read it once. Felt nothing. Then deleted it. His apology didn't change anything. It didn't heal wounds that were already healed. It didn't fix damage that she had already moved past. It was just words from a man who finally understood what he lost. But she had gained so much more than she lost. She had gained herself. And that was everything. She showed Isaac the message before deleting it. He read it and looked at her. How do you feel? Nothing, Naomi said honestly. I feel nothing. He's a stranger to me now. Good, Isaac said. Because you're not that woman anymore. You're someone entirely new. He was right. She wasn't the woman who left that marriage. She wasn't even the woman who wrote that first book. She was constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly becoming more herself. That night, Naomi sat at her desk in her office and started writing. Her third book. This one about a woman who didn't just disappear. She transformed. She became so fully herself that she shone. And everyone who had doubted her, who had tried to dim her light, could only watch from a distance as she glowed brighter and brighter. It was fiction. But it was also true. Because Naomi had done exactly that. She had disappeared and transformed. And now she was shining brighter than she ever thought possible. Trevor had wished she would disappear forever. And she had. She disappeared from his life completely. But she didn't vanish into nothing. She appeared in her own life. Fully present. Fully alive. Fully herself. And that was the best revenge of all. Not hurting him back. Not making him suffer. Just living well. Living free. Living the life she deserved. A life so full and so bright that his wish became his curse. Because he would never be part of this life. He would never get to see what she became. He would only hear rumors. See pictures. Wonder what might have been if he had treated her better. But Naomi didn't care about his wondering. She didn't care about his regrets. She cared about her garden and her writing and her husband and her friends and all the small, beautiful things that made up her life now. She had wished for nothing from him. And she got everything she needed. By herself. For herself. And that was exactly how it was supposed to be.